Hey, gang. Thought I'd try something different this morning. Gonna do some live inking here. Mostly because I got a new phone that I couldn't really figure out, and I've run out of space on it. I'll figure it out though. Anyway, I've been doing some commissions lately. My commissions are open, I guess. I'll leave a link down below, or I'll post one a little bit later. There's a couple I just did. This is Domino and I forget this dude's name. I wasn't really familiar with him, but it was fun to do. Wolverine. There's another one somewhere. I've misplaced it. But this is the one I was really excited about. It's Hellboy and Roger. And what I did was I drew this first on small paper. Hold on, let me go grab it. Oh yeah, that character's name was Phantom X. Anyway, I first drew it on this little just photocopy paper. There's something about photocopy paper I like drawing on. I don't know why. Yeah, I also like my you're hiding in the company restroom to watch this. That's funny. But I like my sketchbooks to have much thicker paper. But there's something about drawing on sketchbook stuff that I like. I don't know why. Anyway, I blew it up in Photoshop and then printed it out, and now I just started inking. Roger with a cross, lightning, and Hellboy chained to him. The chains take a really long time to draw. Let me shut this light off. There you go. Now I can see things better. And I'm going to get right into inking. I'm going to save the chains for later because the chains are going to take a long time to even talk about or to ink. They just take a long time. I'm mostly inking with my Kurotuke brush pen. One of the things that I love about this guy is the refillable cartridge. I can use a syringe and put my own ink in there. First I have to take theirs out, kind of wash it out. It's a little bit of a process. But then afterwards, my own ink. Oops. And as you can see, I don't really spot my black so much in this sketch. I kind of do it right in the inks. But the first thing I like to do is to just ink the outlines of stuff. I know generally the light source is generally coming from over here. That's all I need to really start out with, you know. And I hear some weird sounds over there. That's just my dog snoring. I'm also taking a slightly different approach to this. Usually when I draw Hellboy, Mignola-related stuff, I really allow myself to indulge in my Mignola fanboyness and use a lot of his techniques, you know. I mean, I'll always use this kind of stuff, but a lot of times when I'm inking my characters, Mignola characters, I will adopt more of his pen-oriented style. But this time, I'm going to try and ink Hellboy kind of in my truer style, I guess. I don't know if that's the word, but yeah, not trying to like totally fly with my Mignola flag and use a little more rounded, brushier shapes. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is because, I don't know, if I was Mike, I think I'd be more interested in see how people draw characters in their style as opposed to always just trying to work super closely to what Mike is already doing. I don't know if that makes any sense, because as I'm working, you know, my brain power is really going towards my brush and the lines and stuff, so I'm never really sure what's actually coming out of my mouth until I watch some of the video later. So if I sound rambly or whatever, I hope you understand. You know, his His hand, I think I'm still going to ink with a pen. Some of the details will still be like with a pen. Now, knowing that the light's coming up here, I think most of this side of his body is going to be in black. Like his coat. This is going to be black in here, so I got to make sure I give him a little highlight. My head might bump the camera a couple times, so I'm sorry ahead of time if it bounces around some. To get a good angle on the page and a good flat angle, I kind of have to have it almost right in front of my face, the camera, which is really just my little iPhone. So yeah, sometimes I'll bump it. So this is going to be all black around him. So again, put a little X there so I don't know. There you go. You gotta be able to hear my dog, right? Anyway. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've done any real videos, but, you know, the last month or so, 2 months, been pretty nutty around here. Hellboy has fingernails, but I feel weird to draw. And I think with the spear, I want to go ahead and ink that in now. I also want to use a pen just to give it these sharper edges, little jaggedy shapes too, you know. I struggle sometimes trying to figure out when I want to use a straight edge and when I want to use freehand for lines, for straight lines. In this case, it wasn't too difficult to figure out. Like, I definitely wanted to use a freehand to give it more of a organic, beat-up vibe. But a lot of times when I'm doing buildings and cars and stuff, I kind of go back and forth and kind of mix and match when I'm using a straight line and when I'm just doing complete freehand. And sometimes it's just hard to make that choice of when that's going to be, why it works or why it doesn't work, and when it's appropriate, you know. Okay. I think I'll go ahead and do his fist. I don't know, it's tricky because the chains are on top of a lot of the line work, and the chains are gonna be boring to watch me ink. I'd have nothing to say for like the full hour and a half or however long it'll take, I don't know. So I'm gonna try and just skip that part. I'm really glad I got this commission. I love Roger, you know. He's tons of fun. And always wanted to do a sort of like Roger and Hell story. But Roger's story was told, I think, you know. And like, even though he's a comic book character, what's great about the Mignola-verse is somebody goes, they can actually really go, you know. Little texture lines here and there. Trying to figure out if I want any rendering here, like maybe just a little tiny bit of, let's do a little bit of brush work. I don't know. It's fine, I guess. Well, I'll just get into the nitty gritty. Let's go right into his face. This is the fun stuff. That nose feels a little funny, so I'm going to grab my super ground down #2 pencil. I go back and forth with my tools and stuff, so sometimes I'm using like a mechanical pen. There's something about the pencil, just the old #2 pencil, that I really dig too. And it's just the simplicity of it, or the romanticism of knowing that, like, I know that Kirby mostly used maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that he used mostly just like a #2 pencil. So it also becomes more attractive, you know? The idea of just working in like a traditionally simple, universal style. Plus brings me back to when I was a kid, you know? Just working with regular #2 pencil, not knowing that there were different kinds of leads and stuff. Probably going to use a little bit of pen on his face here, partially because of just details. Also, you know, Hellboy's horns and stuff, like it just needs a certain amount of straightness. I don't know what the word is, you know. There's some artists who can draw a Hellboy with pretty smooth features in their brush lines and stuff, and they can still make it work. I don't feel like I'm that artist to make Hellboy work. Thinking about his sideburns and hair here. I mean, I guess they're not that important to show. So I think they're going to stay in shadow. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm happy with that. Let's capture just the edge of his nostril here. Just tiny bit of highlight there for his sideburns. But I might take them out after. We'll see what it looks like when I get it all filled in. There we go. You know, the face, especially on a commission, super important. You can mess everything else up, but you can't mess the face up. Or the eyes. Well, I guess the eyes are part of the face. I guess. There we go. All right, I like the way it's turning out. Gonna grab the pen again. This pen, again, just I like using cheap tools. I don't know why. I'm fine with spending money when I need to, but there's something about a uniball pen. I mean, it just makes me happy. There's a line quality to it that's hard to get in other pens, even in the Pigma Micron, which I love using too. These guys. Nice little tiny thin line you can get out of it. Get nice shapes and corners, a little bit of variation. But there's something about the Uniball that I dig. All right, I think that's good. Well, unfortunately, I think I am going to have to ink some of the chains right here in front of you. It's going to be boring. But let's do it so that I can get to Hellboy's like body and all that stuff. So this is a brush, another pen that I like using a lot. It's called a Bimoji, Bimoji, and it has a really flexible nib. After I've beaten them up some, I'll mark the top of the cap so that I know that this is slightly duller than like a fresh brush pen. Like this one's as fresh, so it's going to have a slightly thinner tip to it. It's not been beaten up as much, but since I'm inking just these chains, it doesn't need to be like super, like a super tight finished tip. And look at the variation you get out of this. It's really fun. This is a very Mignola-esque chain as well. A lot of chains, when we draw them, we draw like this square and then like kind of two other squares on the other side reaching into the middle. Mike often draws his chains as circles, these like rounded circular links, which I also find, besides the fact that, I'm drawing characters from the Mignola verse, I'm thinking, well, those are the kind of chains I typically see Mike draw. I also find them easier to draw. There's something about like just a simple circle for these chains. They line up and stuff better than when I draw, except for that one, kind of traditionally square chains. And when I did the sketch of this Hellboy thing, as you can see, I actually drew, I actually inked all the little chain links and stuff in here. Really, all I need to do is just draw sort of a line, almost like the width of the chains and stuff, because there's no need to do all these little links twice. But I think I was just kind of noodling at the time. We live not too far from a couple of hospitals, so there's a constant sound of sirens outside, which can add to some of the weirdness of today's life, especially not too far from Portland. What else is going on? Let's talk about, well, this September, I've got a couple of really awesome things happening. Issue 3 of After Realm is coming out. Yay. The Kickstarter for that, probably starting next month. But, it'll be that combination of Kickstarter and Image Comics as well. So the book will be out in September. It's already drawn. It's being colored now, and it's been lettered already. Really excited about that. obviously, we've also got Powers, that graphic novel's finally coming out. We had a lot of production issues with it and stuff. You know, just a huge book that we kept adding and adding and adding to. Then there were some production issues. Then we had to pick out all the materials for the extras, which was also sort of a not a nightmare, but you know, it was difficult to figure out. All right, so you've got this book we've been doing for 20 years, and we've got this extras section. Like, what goes in there? You know, we had 2 television shows. You know, the FX pilot that didn't air, but we did a lot of work on. There's the TV show itself. There's the several incarnations and volumes that are almost hard to track, even for me, of Powers, you know. So many photos, so much of our life that's wrapped around the book to sort of figure out, you know, what to put in there. I think when I did my first pass of extras, it was like a file of like gigabytes of photos and drawings and pages and all kinds of stuff. So it took a long time to even figure out how to whittle that down. Yeah, just wow. All things Powers when it comes to production. It's always a thing, man. It's always a thing. And Brian and I don't have trouble, you know, with our other books. Like schedule-wise, you know. And it's crazy how Powers is just always, I don't know. It's almost part of the aesthetic of Powers is waiting for it, you know. So yeah, it's like 280 pages or some crazy stuff. Like it really is. I mean, if you're a Powers fan, you're going to love this. Let me see. Yeah, so that's going to be a hell of a month. Also found out that they're reprinting the Alistair and Adolf book that I did with Douglas Rushkoff. Through Dark Horse. So that was a book we did about the occult practices of Aleister Crowley working for the OSS to fight against the Nazis' magical occult symbols and stuff. It's really dark and twisted and weird, fun book about, you know, evil. It's one of the few books, maybe the only book I've actually done in black and white. And we used wash tones, which was a lot of fun, and some zipatone. So I had just a blast, like mixing those styles when I was working on that book. So yeah, September is gonna be a hell of a month. Yeah, it feels weird inking Hellboy this cleanly. Like I said, usually I do it like a lot of like sort of rougher line work. Like instead of doing like a smooth line like this, I would want to find, you know, jaggedy edges to it and stuff. But this time, I'm gonna go a little more traditional. Traditional might be the wrong word. I mean, just inking it like I would ink Powers or something else. Yeah, see this Emoji pen is like super flexible. Not just the tip, but just like how you can use it in different. I hate that little spot. These different textures and stuff that you can get out of it. In fact, there's a couple of books. My earlier Cave Carson stuff before it got all digital was inked. Actually, I'm going to switch over to And this one that doesn't have, that's a little cleaner. The early issues of Cave Carson, I inked almost entirely with these Bimoji pens and Uniballs and a little bit of Pigma Microns. And then I switched fully to digitally on Cave Carson was when I had a family member who was my uncle, who unfortunately was passing away of cancer. And I had to go back to New Jersey and be with him. And, you know, it was all an emergency stuff, and had to bring work with me because we didn't know how long this was gonna be. It was like a 5-week process. So, yeah, I had this little tablet thing. It wasn't, I forget what it was some kind of PC tablet. It wasn't great or anyway, but being forced to ink digitally whole issues, you know, trial by fire, and I just had to figure it out. So from that point on, after 5 weeks of that, yeah, just drawing digitally became easier and easier. And then especially once we got this iPad Pro, inking the iPad Pro with Clip Studio and yeah, the iPad Pro with Clip Studio is just so easy. It feels like the only thing it's missing is just real estate, just the size of it, you know. It's like 9 by 12 or something like that. I would love to have something a little bit bigger. Would be perfect. But I know that's not for everybody. I can't imagine ever going to make one slightly bigger, you know. I realize these always work out better for some reason, the links, when instead of doing like a loop, and then a loop underneath to match it up, if I just do the full circle, it works a lot better. I've also just finished up this next arc of United States of Murder, Inc. And by next arc, I mean one that's not even solicited yet. It's all done, 6 issues in the can. So we're excited about that. There won't be any shipping issues there, God willing. So got to start thinking about what's going to be filling up my time till Brian and I figure out what we're doing next. You know, obviously I got After Realm, but After Realm is only quarterly, and the next issue that I have to actually draw is a December book, so I'm like so crazy far ahead. I'm not going to see any income from those issues until much later, you know, so I've got to figure out some other projects and come up with some fun ideas in my head, things to work with other people, mostly. Got some projects in mind. We'll see what happens. A lot of times it's scheduling is a big issue. Sometimes I'm ready for a project and the other people, whether it's a publisher or other creators, like getting your schedules to line up is not always easy. So sometimes too, when I'm inking, like the first step to inking, it's almost like a coloring book. I'm just doing the outside lines, you know. And then I'll go back in and render like shapes and details and stuff, which I think we could do now. So let's give some weight to these Kirby dots, Kirby circles. That's going to be black, so I guess that doesn't matter line weight wise. Let's give him some core shadowing here. Alrighty. It's coming together nicely. I guess I'll go ahead and finish the chains here, so I can just get right into the rest of this. Sorry if there's comments here and I'm not seeing them because I'm recording with my phone, so I can't like take it off of the thing and answer questions or anything. And even when I'm done here, I'm going to go into these chains, and there's little tiny lines in between the links there to add. But that's going to be pretty time consuming, and I don't think I have the brain power to talk through that or anything. And I can't imagine anybody would be interested in seeing that. So I'm just going to walk you through most of the Hellboy inking. But sometimes when you're doing these things that are super repetitive, like they're really taxing. Yeah, I can even see the quality of the little links here getting wonky because my brain has just about had it. One of the problems with being a relatively fast artist is you can lose patience. I do miss those days when I was younger and I could just stare at a page for hours and hours and hours. And now I'm always thinking about the next assignment, the next page. Making the donuts, as they say, you know. And I really need to be more relaxed and just be more in the moment with the art. Easy said. Okay. I'm gonna fill this in. So there's gonna be flames at the bottom. Let me do the outline of some of the flames first. These don't have to be perfect at all. I just want to know where the black and the fire will begin. So the whole, I have to keep in mind that everything around him on the outside of his body is solid black, so I don't have to worry about inking his exterior line to get all the prettiest lines. I'll think about what I want to do with the boots. I'm not sure right now. But his biker pants, his 1990s biker pants, which I love. Have to have this outline around it because it's black behind him. Alrighty. Now the only thing I don't really enjoy about commissions is filling in the black. Because typically on a finished page, I'll just, or a published page, I don't fill my black in right then because I've got deadlines. And all these little details take a really long time to fill in. So typically what I'll do is I'll just move on, I'll fill them in Photoshop. And then when I'm ready to sell the page, then I'll fill in the black. It's just time consuming. Like look, this little area here. That might not seem like a long time, but a whole bunch of that is a long time. Okay, look how long this takes to just fill in this little area here. But in Photoshop or Clip Studio, we just fill it in with a paint bucket and it's done. That said, nothing really beats seeing the brushwork when you're filling in the black, and it is rewarding. But I'm always in a constant battle between the quality of art, that might be the wrong way to put it, and the commerce of getting pages done, you know? I'm all about the deadlines. Like when I got to draw Cave Carson, it was the only mainstream book that I've ever drawn on a regular basis. We did 2 years straight and we were never late. I think we may have shipped like a week or two late once or twice. But that was during that time where, you know, I had to sit with my uncle as he was passing. DC was super cool during that time period. Not only were they very understanding, but like they sent like a gift basket and notes and stuff, and they were just super cool. All right, that's about all the little tiny black I'm going to fill in because I started to do it as an example just to show how long it takes. And now I'm like, ugh, move on. All right. I get this question a lot, and you know, why I wear the glove. Partially, it helps me keep my own oils and stuff off of the page, you know, from lotion or whatever. Keeps the lead off of my hand from being absorbed, and it helps me move a little more smoothly too. think his tail is too big. His tail is tricky because you don't see it as much as you think, you know, when I think of Hellboy. Of course he has a tail, but for some reason you just don't end up seeing it a whole lot. A lot of these details back here are with that Bimoji brush pen. But I'll probably also go in and do a little bit more details with that Uniball, just to give it a slightly different texture feel. And you can see, because it's thinner, see, it just gives it a slightly different quality, some variation. And that's something that I have issues with in digital. I wish I had a better understanding, or just take the time to learn how to manipulate my pens more, because there can be a sort of sameness to all the line work, which I like to try to avoid, you know. It's kind of hard for you guys to see exactly what this is going to look like without all the black filled in. So you're going to have to use your imagination a little bit. You know, part of art, well, not a big part, but is visualization, to really see what you want to draw in your head before you start working on it. I don't do that enough. I work a lot off of instinct, which serves me well, but it always works out better when I almost meditate on the page a little bit, like close my eyes, think about what I want to draw, what is the story that's being told, and give myself a few different iterations in my head and moments to think about what it would look like, you know, where the lighting is. Just really see in my head the finished product. And when I do that, it almost always turns out well, you know, something I'm proud of. Because believe it or not, I'm not always proud of all my work. A lot of it I'm like, oh, that's passable. You know, so when I actually feel pride in something I drew, I don't want to say it's rare, but you know, I'm a more than harsh critic on myself. So when I do something that I do like, it feels good. And usually that comes with the visualization part, which also works when you've seen those ink drawings that I've done where I'm using that flat pen and I'm just going right into drawing. I'm not penciling, I just start drawing a figure and stuff. And when those work out, it's because I've had a clear picture in my head of what I want to do, which weirdly is never really that close to what I actually draw, but it's still just a sort of mental place to start from that serves me well. I hate that line. I don't know why. It doesn't really say anything. And that's hard to nail down too, is when a line is saying something. Like, these lines are saying stuff. Like, this is like a dip in his collar. This is describing the shape of the stresses on the outfit and stuff. It kind of sort of feels like a muscle, but I don't know. Shut this off for a second. It's coming along nicely. I think about what I want to do here. I might leave it open like this because there's so much black around here, and just if I put too much detail in there, it kind of gets muddy instead of being, it's almost a silhouette, an opposite silhouette, you know, like a negative silhouette. So I'll probably put some lines in here, but I'm not going to do like a core shadow like this or anything. I think I'm going to leave it open. And leave these little tiny texturing dots in the black, you know, gives a sense that this is rocky and made of stone and brick. A little bit of noise. Which is frankly also something I got from Mike. I remember seeing him in New York City Comic Con. I forget which story in Hellboy he first started to introduce these like white lines into what used to be all solid blacks in his backgrounds. But he said he was thinking of it almost like in a black and white film. You get that degraded film stock, and he's kind of replicating that. And I fell in love with it. Well, kind of like all the stuff that Mike does, art-wise. But up till then, it was all about the solid black. So much so that there was this great, one of his older works, Dr. Strange graphic novel that Mark Badger inked. And it was amazing. But at the time, I wasn't crazy about it because there was all these, Mark used all that textures, like a lot of white dots in the black and stuff, and I hated it. I hated that it wasn't solid black, so I actually would fill in the black on there. And now I look back at that graphic novel and I'm like, Mark was right. Mike's work is more dimensional with that stuff. Like, and I still love like the old P. Craig Russell inks on him, like on Iron Wolf and stuff. But it's definitely just a different era of, you know, Mignola's work. And it's funny, my other big influence is Alex Toth, who Mignola admires deeply, but has always said wasn't like a direct influence. I mean, real influence on Mike's stuff, I think, is there's obviously some Wrightson, but Frazetta and Mike Plug, I believe. And Jones. Ah, shit, I forgot to draw his bike shorts on here. I'm gonna guess they're around here. Let's just say that's it. I also discovered recently an Alex Toth podcast. I haven't given it a shot yet, but it's on my list of stuff to listen to. Yeah, I'm hoping I'm going to just get back in the swing of making videos on a regular basis. It's been a hard couple months. I know I could actually just fill in the black here instead of leaving. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Instead of leaving an outline there, let's just fill it in black. Because you don't really need the details here to know that that's his leg. It's pretty clear. I'm not going to fill in all the black area here. I'm just going to do enough so that you guys can kind of see the real finished, what it's going to look like when it's all together. I think that's good enough for that. We're going to go a little abstract with his boots. So I'm going to put some details in here, like these sort of straps and stuff on his boot. And here comes a part that I'm always wondering is to render or not to render. This kind of rendering, you know? Like I feel like maybe on the edge of the boot here. I think it'll work because it'll give the boot a sense of, nah, I don't really like it. It's not bad. But I like the definitive shape of just actually, I bet I can just get away with that. There we go. I like that better. It also matches the thickness of this leg a little bit. They're not that far apart, so this one shouldn't be that much thinner than this one. I thought that rendering would add something to it, but instead it sort of muddied it up. It softened the contrast, that sort of black and white contrast that makes it pop, you know? So I'm starting to think this is getting really close to being done, or at least as done as I can get on this video. I'll put a little bit of details into his arm here. What do I want to do? So here's what I was talking about, like the little shapes in between. So that's going to take a while to do on all of these. And I still have to finish up Roger's links and stuff here. But boy, that'll be a boring video. But I don't know. There's that manga artist that I love watching his videos, and he just does live, not live, but real-time inking, full pages. I find it mesmerizing. Especially when he goes into inks, because he's using that G pen nib, and it makes a beautiful sound of just like this kind of scratching inking. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna noodle around with the chains and stuff to give it depth. I mean, otherwise, this is pretty close to really being done. I mean, the main body of things, this may look unfinished to you, but to me it looks pretty done. I will have, you know, fire details and stuff to finish up. Little details like, you know, Hellboy's got all these scars and stuff, and little nicks into his Hellboy glove. This is going to need to be kind of filled out, details and stuff. This should probably be in black. There's a lot of like thinking afterwards where I'm looking at the piece and yeah, that's going to be filled in black. Let's do that. I mean, I love the line here going down to the neck. Like, it really did like that, but nah, no, honestly, I liked it better the other way. But this is fine. Sometimes you just gotta take that chance. All right. Well, this is a live video, so it's not like I gotta worry about how much space I'm using up my phone. So I'll just go ahead and fill in this black with you guys here. So I've got these big, thicker brush pens. I think this is just a watercolor brush. It's nothing fancy. let's have fun filling in some black. Kind of feels like this part should be fast forwarded with like Benny Hill music playing, you know. And then when I'm inking or filling in these black areas, I still try to use my brush strokes in the direction of whatever the shadow is, so that any little spots that show up will show up going with the flow of this shadow shape thing. Well, it looks like my battery might die. Oh, I was not prepared for anything on this phone. I want to get like a dedicated iPhone, like a used one, to do all this recording, just to avoid these little problems. Well, in case my phone does clunk out, let's concentrate down here. And this is something I can't capture digitally. This is kind of brushwork. Sure, a better artist can, or somebody more familiar with the workings of digital brushes and stuff. Like, I know there are dry brushes and stuff, but I always find that they look too much like a regular pattern. And to get them to not look like a pattern that's being repeated a bunch, like, you have to manipulate it so much, it becomes time consuming instead of being like a easy tool to help you along, you know? You just spend your time trying to fake a brush. So I also have like a couple of sheets of black that I filled in like this, like the whole page, and just got various degrees of texture, of brush texture showing through. And sometimes I'll import that into a background of a digital drawing, which gives it more of this feeling of like a brush, of like a real tangible handheld feel. So this commission is it's one of the top tier commissions where it's, quote, cover quality, which basically what that means, I've got to do a lot of thinking on here. You know, a lot of the other commission pieces, they're just more organic. I allow them to be what they need to be. But something like this where they're paying more, you know, I treat it like a real cover, and I think about all these details like so. There's so much in here I see my brain thinking about. And I'm not sure if I understand how to express that in a way that is helpful to anybody listening. So that's why I'll probably just do that silently. I'll just put music on and finish all those details internally, meaning the thought process is just, it's all mine. I can't really express it because I don't know how. A big segment of what I do is just daydreaming on the page, and I need music to do that. Which is another reason why I want to get like a backup phone, so I could talk to you guys, record stuff, and still listen to music. Because honestly, one of the reasons why I don't do as many videos is sometimes I'm like, well, I feel really motivated by what I'm listening to. And you know, as a little kid, music always just was something that I would daydream listen to lyrics, and the lyrics would paint a picture or tell a story, and that was as influential and powerful to me as movies and books. And what's weird about that is a lot of that music that makes me feel that way is like my parents' music. It's music that was playing on the radio in the 70s, a lot of singer-songwriter stuff and hippie music and classic rock type stuff. It's like there's songs that I don't even know if I actually like, but they motivate me because of that strong nostalgia effect, you know. kind of like some songs become more than a song. They end up becoming something else. Like earlier, Strawberry Fields was playing, and I was like, man, I kind of love this song, but I've heard it so many times, and it's been used in so many different sort of ways. Like it no longer, it's hard to listen to the song to be just the song that originally was. There's so much stuff attached to it, you know? Like I know they're incredibly cheesy, but like Styx, you know, I grew up, that music was just on the radio all the time. So I don't know if I love their songs or their songs just, they're strong medicine. They're like, they bring back all this old nostalgia feelings of being a kid and drawing on the floor. And there's something about that that motivates me. It's pretty funny. But I listen to all kinds of music. I wish I could just play stuff without worrying about the copyright, so you could hear like just the weird eclectic stuff. Not weird in a way that I'm showing off, but weird in like even I recognize, well, it's really strange to have like a Block Party song next to Jethro Tull's song, followed by a Nine Inch Nails song, which is then followed by Jim Croce or something, you know. You can't see it here, but I've got like a big jug of water that I rinse my brush off in so that it doesn't get all ruined. Although these brushes I don't have to worry too much about. They're just for filling in black, so it's fine. It's fine if they get funky. So hopefully this will give you guys more of an idea of what this finished piece will look like. Let me pull this off. Yeah, I just got to spend more time doing little details in here, and I don't know, maybe in the future I'll do a full live thing where it's all the way through, beginning to end. Pardon me, but that'll be a couple of hours, you know. So it'll take me some time to look through here, figure out, well, what spaces do I like being open without much detail or any detail is negative space, and what areas I need to add more details on and stuff. I also have to remember to erase the occasional pencil line on here because I lightbox this, so there's not a lot of actual pencil lines on here. And I got to finish all these chains on him. And some other details. Yeah, all these chains in here need to shine a little bit more. Not literally shine, they just need to be rendered better, more clinks and little chunks taken out of there, and details in the fire. But there we go. Well, thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. And I'll also make sure to go back and edit into this the finished piece and some links and stuff like that. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.